in a lot of ways, they're unexamined because we spend most of our time trying to make money, live our lives, etc. So how much time is there left at the end of a busy day to just start to read philosophy and think of the big ideas that drive humanity? But that doesn't mean they're not there, and that doesn't mean that other people are not thinking about them with good and not so good ends in mind.
Sure.
So we're trying, I think, to identify those big ideas, to even ask questions like, who are we in VR? Is this technology going to start to change our definitions of identity? And even questions like that, even asking them, I think, is valuable, even if no one has a clear answer right now, because we kind of know that it will change these things, and we kind of know that it will have huge repercussions in the future. So yeah, I think we just see value in that. And it's interesting that you asked this, because I know some people on Twitter also comment things like they make negative comments when it comes to the usefulness of the humanities and the usefulness of philosophy. And I see lots of comments with things like, well, philosophy was the science 2000 years ago, but now we have that science. So what is this thing doing? What is like ideas doing? So I think there's clearly a place for philosophy and ideas, yes, and the humanities in society. And there's clearly a side of human activity that is not covered by science, and that requires a totally different methodology than science.
Yes, I've never been a detractor of the humanities being important to VR. However, my early days, I definitely did not think they were super important. Since I've been in VR more, I have had numerous experiences where I have felt uncomfortable, not in the sense of like disgust or anything that's super negative on the experience, but uncomfortable of self-understand. I'm like, I almost saw myself like astral projected looking down and thinking like, oh, why'd you just do that? That's not you. I know that's not me, but I did that. Now that's me here. And now it's like, okay, now I understand why we've got to be asking these questions, because for a moment I thought I had a brain skip and I was like, that's not me. But now I understand it is me. It just happened to be me, and that's only ever going to happen in VR. That's interesting. You brought up repercussions. I don't like to get too negative, but I think it's important also. You brought up control. You know, these architects and developers and people making immersion by definition is a controlled environment to a degree. You can control a lot. In what ways can the architectural design of a VR game, level, experience, application, whatever, where can that be abused currently to possibly make a poor experience or negatively affect the user? Is there certain things you're seeing, and maybe by purpose or just by accident, you know, an unintended consequence of a current design?
So I'm going to answer this, but not just when it comes to the environment, because as I was saying earlier, I don't think we need to think of designing the environment separately from designing the other things.
Sure.
So I'm thinking of the strategy for the environment going hand in hand with a strategy for gameplay, for the avatar, locomotion, and all of those things. So you mentioned what sounded like an out-of-body experience that you had in VR.
Yes, yes. There was an action I said and did that was contrary to everything I've ever done, but I had I had the knowledge at the time to look at that and go, oh wow. So I kind of noticed it at the time. And it was interesting, yes.
So what would you say if I told you that we can produce out-of-body experiences in VR within minutes?
I'd be like, show me it.
So it's totally possible. I've been playing with stuff like that. There was a study done at the University in Zurich at the ETH where they induced amazing out-of-body experiences pretty quickly in VR. It was done within a study about consciousness. So I think it was a mixed study between philosophy and neuroscience. And so where do I see the dangers? Well, imagine certain companies or developers creating entire applications where they have the power to put you into an out-of-body experience. And once you are there, unless you are extremely used to that, you will be in a very, very vulnerable position.
Yes.
Because you are in what's referred to right now as an altered state of consciousness. It's similar to when you're having lucid dreams and things like that. So for a brief period or not so brief period, your brain actually transitions to a slightly different state. And yeah, you are vulnerable as hell. And is that an unprecedented kind of power?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then I think going down the rabbit hole in that, which I'm becoming less and less of a pessimist on it, but I still have my concerns, is you add in the tech features that might come with the hardware. So you have that design that puts you in an out-of-body experience, then combine that with something like eye tracking. So now you have them in an altered state and a wealth of information that they don't even understand what you're taking. It can be used it's nerve-wracking to a degree, but there's a lot of applications where that's going to be very useful and helpful at the same time. Just depends who's using it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot we don't know about it. My particular goal is to just make more and more people aware of these things. And I think there's a small community of people, myself included, that have had experiences like this in the past, like before VR. Mm-hmm. And we are more familiar with this. Like the second I tried VR, so the first time I tried VR was in that VR company in Stuttgart, and then I quit my job. But then I learned Unity. I ordered my Vive like many years ago, and the very first thing I did as soon as I plugged in my Vive to my computer and like got it to work in play mode in Unity was to mess up with a camera and to try to induce these out-of-body experiences, because there were things I was familiar with from other experiences, and I intuitively knew that this medium would just be perfect for that, and it was. So
are you able to share that other experience that you had experience with before trying it in VR?
Oh, the other experience is just me inducing it basically through meditation. Sure. But I feel like there are people that maybe are less aware of these things just because they don't have a personal history with this, let's call them altered states of consciousness, that might not be aware of these new dangers that might be coming in from that direction in combination with this tech.
That makes sense. I also think of it in the sense that who's ever developing these experiences or games, their self-conscious has to be kind of in this world as well. Like I speak with some people who make games. Like I think Anton was speaking to you on Twitter. I don't know if you've played his game, but I have to imagine that is much of Anton in that game. I'm embodying a bit of him every time I'm in that game, which is a very interesting point because I'm seeing the architecture, the design, the ideas, everything through his lens. I'm hoping that he set me up for success so I can enjoy that, but it's not missed on me that this entire structure and architecture structure of his creation is his brain personified in a certain way, which is interesting when you think I'm playing inside his head in a way. And I thought that was really neat when you guys were bringing that up. I never thought of it that way until I kind of read that.
Yeah, I think that's one of the more positive aspects of this whole conversation. I think it's quite exciting to be able to meet someone at home, quote unquote, right? And it's what makes VR, I think, interesting for artists, right? Because in a way, that's what art is. You're trying to express yourself and you're trying to communicate these thoughts that are not appropriate for words into sounds or shapes or whatever. because you can't speak them out, right? It's the kind of stuff that's not spokeable. So now all of a sudden you can put, like, immerse people in there without, you know, building a whole building or waiting for a rich guy to give you 100 billion to like build it. So you can put someone in there so they finally know what it feels like to be in your head.
Hit that subscribe button to stay on top of the daily clips, or catch the debates and fireside chats live on the main channel down in the video description. See you next time, Space Cowboys.